Monday, August 12th. Market analysis of Stan Ehrlich. Good morning. We cover the stock indexes first and then futures and sometimes cycles, sectors, forex, Bitcoin, and a bit more. So, on Thursday of last week, some of the indexes, those that are futures versions, had bullish engulfings, and the E-mini was one of them. Now, you know I'm basically bearish until October because the October lows since 1997 have only failed 3 times. That's over 90%. There has been a significant, sometimes huge, buying opportunity in October. I'm hoping it'll happen again this year, and I'll analyze it on a day-to-day basis as it develops or not develops. The last couple of years have been great, in particular 2022. So I looked for a rally because of the bullish engulfing. I mentioned I didn't trust it too much, but that's my personal opinion. Right now, the strategy, which is not a personal opinion, it developed because of my 52 or 3 years of being in the business and coding, doing okay, not great. But the problem is I know that there is resistance above this market. I expect because of that, and that's my personal opinion, that the rally is not going to go too far and last too long, and that we're going to see new lows to the trend maybe this week or in a week or two at the most before the month is out. Anyway, not holding very well at the moment. Indexes are thrashing back and forth. Let's take a look at the 1 minute or 5 minute. And the 5 minute spider has been forming this morning for a little while. Current, there we go. A little bit of a pennant formation, but fairly violently. Now, please remember that about 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden, all hell broke loose and the volatility levels skyrocketed, and we started having very big price ranges in one day. Whereas 3, 4, 5, 6 points, 7 points maybe would have been fairly normal for many months until couple of weeks ago. Now we're seeing 10, 15-point ranges in a single day, double, triple what we were seeing just a little while ago. So on your toes, these things can move very fast, very substantially, and provide great opportunities for scalping and position entry, et cetera, et cetera. It's just that I want to make sure you understand volatility has increased a lot, and I don't see anything that's changing that at the moment. I think we're going to see new lows for the day today. We might even end up with a big bearish engulfing. We won't end up with a bearish signal, ER signal, because we weren't overbought. Now here in the spider regular trading hours from 6:30 California time until 1 o'clock, we did rally up, touching and going a tiny bit above the neckline on this head and shoulder top, which has a minimum downside objective that was literally fulfilled the day after it broke out to the downside. Wow, and accurately as hell. Great. Now there has been that obligatory 50% to maybe all the way back up to the neckline rally. And it was basically finished on Friday because it came so close. And today we did make a little bit higher high and touch the line going through it slightly. So I wanted to close at a minimum here, if not a lot lower. The lower the better for me because of the pattern and the overall opinion that I have longer term. So next chart in the spider, 5 minute, came up close to a little resistance. Looks like it might be starting to turn down. We got 2 lows to deal with this morning on this 5 minute chart. And I want to see new lows for the day and maybe below yesterday's low, which would generate a bearish engulfing, but not an AR sell signal, again, because we didn't get overbought. Next, Qs, same thing, almost closed an old gap. Remember, gaps are almost always closed. I said almost. And this one is, I don't know, 50%, maybe 30% up into the gap. And that gap was between the low of August 1st and the high of August 2nd. And it's a little bit of resistance. So even if we did make new highs for the day, I don't expect it to be by very much. I do expect it to stop and turn down if it hasn't already decided to do that, which I think may have happened. Let's look at the QQQ 5-minute chart. Up against resistance. Gap closure a little bit. Well, again, looks like about 25, 35%, not quite half. But it did bump up against the previous low that was made on 10 o'clock on July 30th. Interesting. Again, I think maybe things are shifting to back down. And the beginning of a new low for the whole trend down. When I say trend, I mean only the last month or so, not the last 6 months to a year. That is still a bull market. I am still bullish long term. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I'm just looking for a significant downside correction into October. NASDAQ futures also had a bullish engulfing, as I mentioned on the E-mini, on Thursday. It is coming up nicely on a short-term basis, but it's got trouble up above if it can get there in the first place. I'm looking for these indexes to turn down. Momentarily, the NASDAQ futures is a little bit higher. Next, NASDAQ 5-minute September contract. So, same story. Interesting, for the last few days, we have had a bullish resistance line that you can draw slanting upwards. That's why it's bullish. The trend of the line is up, bullish line, but resistance line because we're trading underneath that line, and it's resistance when you come back up and boink, hit it, and then boink, you hit it and drop back, you hit it and drop back, hit it and drop back, hit it and drop back, and just now, again. So, stopping it so far so good for the last several days, few days. Watch out. I think things can fall apart very dramatically and very, very quickly. Next, YM Dow Jones futures contract also on Thursday, bullish engulfing, but, and it's an ER buy signal, but I don't have much faith. And now we are already down to 202 on the YM. So it's dropping a little bit faster and quicker. Basically, I think the NASDAQ futures contract is going to be the leader down and up. But today it looks like the Dow a little bit softer, quicker. And here's the YM 5-minute, much closer to its low a little while ago, and the low slightly before that at 7:05 this morning on this 5-minute chart. And this is very much like a pennant formation, slightly higher lows and lower highs, but it's very small time-wise, only a few hours. And price-wise, fairly good. I mean, it's got a fairly good range, but higher lows and lower highs make a pennant. But I think it's going to break out to the downside. Next, Russell, not the same situation. Major long-term 2.5-year historical resistance, stopped it July 17th, stopped it July 31st, and that's all she wrote. Crash, crash, crash. And now sideways for a week. I think it's going to make new lows again very, very soon. Russell 5-minute chart, same comments, of course. Don't get any better or worse handle on it by looking at the 5-minute chart at the moment. Oftentimes I do. That's why I like to look at 5 or 1 minute, or maybe even a little bit different than that time frames, just to get detail on the way the market's moving. Bonds got overbought, coming back to support. And as you know, I am looking for the bond market to come down into this green circle, and it is covering time frame wise the month of October. And maybe I should move this over 1 day to the right or something. No big deal. That's not going to change anything significant, that's for sure. But this price range is sitting right above a line, this yellow line, which so far appears to be a neckline on the head and shoulder bottom. If you believe that this is the first shoulder low, March 1st of 23. That's 2023. This is a big pattern. Then we've got the head of the formation, October of 23. And we seem to have had a complex last shoulder, 3 little lows involved. That is the lowest low, April 25, but this timing wise is a much better match on May 30th. So this 3 little lows is basically forming the last shoulder, with, of course, the lowest low being about a month a little earlier than I would have calculated. Now, if I'm right, the minimum upside objective in this pattern is 130, 140. So a zigzagging 2-month down, not too fast, a little complicated probably, much like it went up during April, May, June, July, coming down similarly, maybe a downward sliding channel, but come October, everything should bottom out and turn up. 10-year notes. Same story here. I didn't put a circle in the future, but there's no changes in the chart formation, and the upside objective is at a minimum 120. Next, crude, heat, unleaded. We got a very strong rally today, but almost overbought and touching resistance. So I'm expecting maybe this week, maybe early this week, we're going to see a minor high and it's going to start to turn down. Natural gas, something similar, but not quite up to resistance. And I expect it to continue its down move. I'm looking for it to turn down. Trend has been significantly lower over time. Bear market, of course. Don't see any major change. I do want to point out that the previous double top I talked about for weeks and weeks has reached its minimum objective, went a little further, got oversold and bounced. But I'm still bearish. Heating oil. Got bearish, oversold, I meant, on August 5th, and around previous lows at a support level, bouncing off of it very accurately, and now a minor new high. So it could rally up a little more, maybe to 2.45, but I do expect it to turn down again. There's no change in this longer term since September of 23, bear trend. This is a huge support area, but I think it's going to start chewing into it. Gold, silver, platinum, and then copper, and then grains and meats. Gold, very sharp rally today, not quite overbought, big sideways range with a slightly upward slanted series of highs. There's that bullish resistance line again, but the support is almost flat, not quite, but almost perfectly flat. I think this is developing a top and should stop rallying very soon, somewhere between here and maybe touching the line again at 25.39-ish, but maybe not quite reaching that. And now the support level, I think, is going to get broken at 23.51, and then the downside objective will be 21.80. Next chart, silver has a second bullish engulfing ER buy signal today. The first one was on Thursday of last week and the lowest low for the trend down so far. Out of a combination of a double head and shoulder top, the last shoulder of the larger pattern was a small head and shoulder in its top by itself, and it worked very quickly. Took it a day or two. But that small pattern is the last shoulder on the bigger one, which broke out to the downside on July 19th and should go down all the way to 2407.07 on silver. I know we've got 2 buy signals. I understand there should be a short-term rally because of the signals. That's not a problem. I could get way up into here without violating the big pattern's downside objective expectations. So let's see what kind of a rally we get out of these signals. So far, the first one, the lowest low for the move, is doing just fine. Higher high, okay close on Friday. Today, another higher high with the bullish engulfing included, and looks plausible that we're going to have another high close, strong close. The signals are working, despite my opinion, which allows for more strength for a short while, let's say a week, maybe two, and then the move down should continue into new lows. The same thing applies to platinum, but we haven't got any bullish engulfings. We never got oversold in platinum. We do have an outside up day today, and we did not have one on Thursday of last week like silver. So the rally here could get up to where it was before, 988. But I think the support level, which we've already chewed into quite a bit, is going to be challenged again soon and give way. And then we'll have a continuation to the downside. My minimum objective is 807, quite a ways down. Intermediate to longer term position type trade. But if it works out properly, very profitable. High grade copper, brand new buy signal today. Not a precious metal, not necessarily in the same group, except for being a metal. And I'm looking for a rally probably up to 4.30. Yeah, that works. Maybe take a 1 or 2 week period. Looks like it's going to be a good signal. We got a profit on the ER1 scalp at the moment. Of course, that means the ER1 overnight has got a great start also because they both get long at the same time, same price, exactly the same signal, period. So the scalp will end by the time it gets stopped out before the end of the day or on the close. And the overnight's going to keep it overnight until the trailing stop, our STS smart trailing stop, gets hit. We'll see how that works out. Now we're oversold in soybeans, and we're going to go to soybean oil and meal and corn and wheat. And wheat is looking much more interesting. Here we go. Oversold means you could have a bounce anytime, which I think is going to happen. I don't think it's going to go very far. I've got friends that are farmers, and they grow beans and corn. I talked to one of them this morning, in fact. Bumper crop they're expecting. Yeah, that's fundamentals or fundamentals. But anyway, no surprise. Looking for a short-term bounce, continue to be bearish. Soybean oil, exactly the same thing. The short-term bounce after being oversold on August 6th has happened, hit the resistance, and already today coming down pretty good, below Friday's lows, Thursday's lows, not far from making a whole new low for the trend. These grain markets basically look bearish and quite bearish, but we're going to get a little bounce here sometime soon. I'll show you wheat in a moment. So now we're oversold also in soybean meal, which has now finally reached my downside objective today for the double top formation, which had a bearish engulfing ER sell signal on the highest high. Great. I was waiting, 2 months for this thing to finally reach my objective, and it's finally today. It obviously started when it got overbought at resistance on August 6th. And then boom, 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 boom. 4 days later, here we are at my objective. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to stop going down. It means only to expect a short-term bounce. But I think we might see new lows before that bounce starts. But I'm basically bearish. Now, what about corn? We got a brand new, and it's the third in a month or so, buy signal in corn now, today, in progress, up 6 3/4. At the bottom of the break so far, exactly to the day so far. Of course, today's the signal day. In support, And I'm looking for a rally at a minimum 394, but not out of the question at all 408. And I cannot rule out a test of a significant resistance area at around 425. Now, from 383 to 4.25, that's pretty damn decent. That's good money. So that's not out of the question, but it does not change the long-term trend. So I got three little rallies, one pretty decent to expect. We'll see how this pans out. The other two buy signals in corn did not produce particularly great results, meaning you had to be pretty quick and a tight stop to make any money. They didn't change the short-term trend, and it didn't help. It didn't bottom out much. Next, wheat, at the moment down 3 cents, is trying to move up, but not having much success here. We do have a long still from the low of July 31st, a bullish engulfing at the bottom of the market. That's why I've developed the ER Signals trading system. It's an automated 100% trading system, eliminating emotion and greed and fear and all those other things that have no place in trading. Okay, we came very, very close given the current kicker, which is the number that can be changed to speed up or slow down the trailing stop. So if we drop down a little bit more, making new lows for the day, we'll get stopped out with a small loss, and we have a small profit at the moment. But we'll see how this pans out. Cattle, Friday had a bullish engulfing ER buy signal. Today, even though it's down a little bit, 34 ticks, we still have a profit from the entry price on Friday. So what can I say? Looking for more strength. I don't think this is any kind of a turning point, I hope. And I would expect it to go back up to, I don't know, at least 184. Well, very possibly up to about 188. And it's even possible it could get stronger than that. Remember, the trend is up, and the trend is your friend. Intermediate, long term. Not quite so much short term, but longer term. So what have I got? At a bull trend line, which started back in December of last year, this is over a half a year old and has now basically 4 points on it. No, 3. That is a measuring stick. Sorry, that's not a price thing. So actually, I'm going to erase that. Not any good anymore. I think this market has turned and didn't get down to my minimum objective, which was right around there. Halfway, 2/3. So this time up, if we start getting up to 190 and above, very, very bullish longer term. Remains to be seen. A little skeptical about that. We've got a variety of resistance levels on the way up. We'll see how the market handles it. But again, we just had a buy signal on Friday. It is okay, but down a little on the day. We had a little bit more profit earlier. Hogs, now I'm back to expecting a head and shoulder bottom formation to develop properly. At the moment, slightly higher. I had thought that this low on August 5th was the last shoulder low, but instead it made one more jab to the downside with apparently a downside exhaustion gap on Thursday of last week, started to move up on Friday, and we've started to move up a little bit more again today. This low on Thursdays has got to survive. Otherwise, the timing gets too sloppy, the lows get too low, and the head and shoulder bottom pattern will get ruined. So far, my favorite pattern for decades and decades now, head and shoulders. I've seen thousands of them, big, small, etc. This is okay, not bad. The minimum upside objective is currently measured up to all the way back up to 89.50. So this could be quite a substantial move if this pattern works out correctly. Here we go with the E-mini again. Currently, well, a little bit higher. We just can't seem to get a real strong move going, and we just can't seem to get anything to break down and stay down this morning so far. Wobbling back and forth, and it's getting tighter and tighter in this little pennant. You guys have a profitable trading day. See you later. Profitable trading to you.